All right, we got big election updates to get to. So let's start now in Indiana. We can talk about this. We'll just put this New York Times tear sheet up on the screen because it kind of gives a broad overview of everything that happened last night. Big election results around the country. Quote, President Trump's efforts to oust Republicans deemed insufficiently loyal faced a key test on Tuesday as Indiana voters decided whether to back state senators who opposed redistricting and whom the president wanted out. All right, now the Times also said his political payback campaign, Trump's, is going to extend later this month to clashes in Georgia, Kentucky, and Louisiana. But in Indiana, these are primaries. We're not actually even talking about the general elections yet. The Times says several Republican-led states quickly fell in line last year when Mr. Trump demanded redrawn maps. You may remember that Indiana Republicans tried to push back against that. So, quote, when lawmakers returned to Indianapolis in December, the House approved a new map which would have positioned Republicans to flip the state's 2 Democratic-held congressional seats. But the Senate said no, and a slim majority of Republicans joined all Democratic senators to vote the bill down. Those senators who were on the ballot for re-election, not all of them were, but the ones who were, faced, I've seen estimates between $8 million and $12 million from Trump groups, like national Trump groups, basically, and not even secretly, but very openly, who then said, okay, that's it, you're gone. And basically all of them ended up losing, with the exception of one, as of right now, losing their primary battles last night. So brutal day for Indiana Republicans who wanted to push back against Trump, basically. Again, as of now, just one who is clinging to, in a high-profile race, who's clinging to the seat. But, you know, the way that I would describe this, we're in an arms race now on gerrymandering. There's no question about it. This was after Texas, which then you saw California, and the redistricting has been going on in states. And
propelled by the Voting Rights Act decision, because that opens up
redistricting
possibilities everywhere from Alabama to Mississippi to Tennessee.
Right.
It's that, you know, because what they can do is they can just eliminate the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act required basically majority black district. And they'll just carve up the black voters and dilute them into a bunch of white districts.
Right. And so 6 of the 8 who refused to do the gerrymandering were gone last night.
They have time to do it before November, well, they're still in office, so.
Right, yeah, some of them are, yeah.
But they'll do it for 2028.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yes. And just to, again, the argument from Jim Banks and Trump Republicans is that you can't do unilateral disarmament, or you can't, that's not happening, right? So it's not possible. And if you're going to make like a moral Pencean type stand on the principle against redistricting, at this point, there is you're not the bulwark against national redistricting just because you say Indiana won't do it. And so Trump people, and obviously Indiana voters for the most part, looked at that and said, yeah, this is BS. You guys aren't stopping redistricting. It's happening whether you like it or not. And what you are doing is just saying we're disarming ourselves and giving Dems more seats in Indiana. So I think that's a pretty compelling argument to most voters. Everybody hates redistricting.
Maybe.
Everybody hates it. Everybody hates it.
They started it in Texas. Like, they didn't have to do this mid-cycle redistricting in Texas, and they chose to do it. And then, once they chose to do that,
then
then
the cycle was on.
Yeah.
It was immediately Gavin Newsom was like, okay,
right,
we're doing it. And Gavin Newsom's people loved that because everybody knows that we don't have the stigma around these boundaries has been blown up during the Trump era. And so it's unfortunate. It's reality. Nobody is, if these Indiana Republicans had a real substantive plan to stop redistricting around the country, they would probably have a better case with Republican voters. But everybody hates gerrymandering, but also everybody hates not doing it now. Like Republicans and Democrats hate not doing it now. It's a horrible status quo, but it is unfortunately our reality. Ryan, Ohio. Interesting results in Ohio last night as well. We can put this up on the screen. Politico Quote, Ohio Republicans fear former ICE official could cost them a battleground House seat. Now, this is about Madison Sheehan, who was a very young and inexperienced deputy to Kristi Noem. Her title was, I'm trying to remember exactly what her title was. She was deputy director at ICE, that's right. And then resigned to run for Congress back home in Ohio, was the subject of a salacious Daily Mail hit piece about her.
That was incredible.
Sex life, yes. About her sex life just a couple weeks ago.
Rather aggressive. Was it sexual assault even? That, like, there was some pretty serious, like, yikes.
It was definitely a yikes story. I don't remember if there was sexual
anyway,
assault
a lot of
allegations
yikes going on.
rolled into it. But yes, Madison Sheehan, people may
So she might lose, right?
Madison Sheehan is the results are in, lost big as we can look at the results right now. So this is former state representative Derek Marin won and now goes up against Marcy Kaptur in Ohio's 9th congressional district. Yeah, she lost. She lost. And the Daily Mail story, the headline was that she was engaged in a 2-year secret relationship with a junior staffer inside of the Ohio Republican Party. And there were just some private communications and stuff that leaked. Obviously, anytime you have same-sex relationships within a Republican administration that is also equally to like the media a sort of hypocritical. I mean, it's different within the Trump administration, but that was also the subject of fascination, right. I think, in the media reports, or gave them a little extra fuel because, of course, she's from a Republican administration. So.
Oh, and before we go to Colorado, one real quick one on Ohio.
Yeah.
This is buried down here. This is Greg Landsman, who held on to a seat. But he is one of the only Democrats to publicly support the war in Iran, and has been one of the most ridiculously outspoken, unapologetic supporters of Israel within the caucus. Damon Lynch IV, a progressive who spent like $5, got 32% of the vote against the incumbent Landsman. So to have Landsman under 70 suggests that his type of politics is vulnerable.
Well, and that actually, I just another point on Ohio on the Sheehan race. This was seen in, I think, some way as a test of whether Trump's ICE immigration policies would be toxic in a place like Ohio, in a Republican primary in Ohio. Is it, she was literally deputy director of ICE, not some random bureaucrat, but actually the deputy director behind Kristi Noem and all of these photos. Those were in the ads. So another thing, just before we move away from Ohio, I wanted to note that did not work for Madison Sheehan.
Yes, indeed. So in Colorado, speaking of this redistricting cycle, Democrats are trying to get onto the ballot a measure to redraw these boundaries in November, which would then apply to 2028, which shows that this is a long-term thing. That would only give them the advantage in 2028 and 2030 because it was coming anyway from the census. But Colorado, being one of these Democratic-run states, had leaned more towards fair process and doing the kind of commission type of approach where you're fair. Democrats plan to throw that out for 2028 and 2030, and if voters approve it, according to the new report, you can put up E3, the primary donor to the cause of getting this measure onto the ballot is Hakeem Jeffries, is super PAC basically, and so yes, and so then moving over to Michigan real quickly, there was a state Senate race. Massive blowout over performance again in what was a
+1. This is Kamala +1
district. Yeah, what do we have here? E7.
State Senate 35, Harris +1 district.
And he blew it out by 20 plus or whatever. Just across the board, I think Democrats have now flipped 5 seats in special legislative elections?
Yeah, let's throw E9 on the screen. This is your guy, Taniel Ryan, who said, this is a remarkable analysis that he did over at Bolt's, his website. The GOP has not flipped a legislative seat in any state since 2024. Just read that again. Not flipped a legislative seat in any state since 2024. Democrats, meanwhile, have flipped 5 seats so far in 2026.
Just 2026.
And that's after flipping 25 in 2025. And I would like to remind everybody that at the end of the Obama administration, Republicans took a victory lap. You may remember this, a huge Politico story that came out.
1,000 seats or whatever.
Yeah, that was retrospective. This was towards the end of 2016 on all of the seats Democrats had lost during the Obama administration, and how he had essentially maybe it's the Obama brand, maybe it was a lazy Democratic Party under Obama that tried to kind of coast on vibes and not really take care of some of these underlying problems in the economy that was giving rise to Trump and Bernie populism. Whatever it was, Democrats hemorrhaged seats around the country over the course of the Obama administration. It looks like, not to anybody's particular surprise, but after Republicans took that victory lap about 10 years ago, very smugly over Obama, it looks like that is the experience that will probably be part of the Trump era for Republicans.
Yeah, they're going to flip a bunch of chambers, I would suspect, in November as well.
It seems like it.
Yeah. So meanwhile, the DCCC has ticked off an enormous number of Democrats. You can put up E5 here. This was really not the moment for Washington Democrats to creep into congressional elections around the country and put their thumb on the scale and endorse a particular Democratic candidate while there are serious contests still underway. So they added, I think, 8 new Democrats to what they call their red to blue list, which means they're getting the Democratic Party's basically their endorsement, getting access to their donors, to their vendors, to their consultants, which, who knows what all of that is worth to them in the end, but also gives them both the sheen of being party endorsed, but also the stench of being party endorsed. And so it'll be interesting to see how some of these play out. California's 22nd district, Jasmeet Bains was one of the more controversial red to blue candidates. Jasmeet is running against Randy Villegas. Jasmeet had been asked if Israel was committing a genocide, said yes, then said, oh, I think I heard that wrong, after starting to get support from pro-Israel super PACs. And so, yes, Israel's committing a genocide. No, it's not. Pro-Israel money flows in, and then Democratic Party money flows in. This is a Latino-heavy district. So for them to go and endorse against Randy Villegas, who has the support of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Bold PAC, which is the Hispanic caucus, is an aggressive use of, Democratic dues money. Like the way that, DCCC is funded partly is through other House Democrats paying dues in. So the Progressive Caucus, which represents 90 plus Democrats, endorsed Villegas and is spending its money. And then the DCCC is using their dues money to then support the opponent in the race.
That's crazy.
So a lot of House Democrats, very upset about this. They did Bob Brooks, who's in the news lately, because he accidentally outed Josh Shapiro as having, did you see this?
Yeah.
Having endorsed this Republican because he was mad at the Democratic.
Was it AG or something?
For comptroller or treasurer or some one of those positions. Bernie-backed guy, so DCCC and Bernie on the same page, which is quite fascinating. But anyway, we'll track these red to blue ones as they get closer to the races and see how well the DCCC did at putting its thumb on the scale. Because the only thing more embarrassing than putting your thumb on the scale is putting your thumb on the scale and still losing.
Well, let's put E4 on the screen. This is another dub for Graham Plattner. Big dub for Graham Plattner. He's K-File found an old video of Susan Collins behind George Bush, and Graham Plattner is yelling in the audience,
2002.
Don't attack Iraq. Yeah, 2002, so before the invasion. Yeah. Let's roll the clip.
I want to thank the grassroots activists who are here. I want to thank the people who take time, who work hard to make sure that the democracy is strong. I want to thank you very much for your efforts on behalf of all candidates. I want to thank you for what you have done. I want to thank you for what you're going to do, and that is to turn out to vote for these candidates on November the 5th. When I say that I understand Susan Collins, I do. I've worked closely with her.
So there's George W. Bush pumping up Susan Collins back in 2002, and you hear Graham Plattner audibly, his voice in the background saying, "Don't attack Iraq." So the point Ryan was making about going back and checking how the D-trip putting its thumb on the scales works out, just a reminder of establishment Democrats here in Washington's record of that recently. There was no way they wanted Plattner to be the candidate in Maine to take on Susan Collins, but here you have unearthed video, I think, showing exactly why they should have been excited about Graham Plattner being the guy to take on Susan Collins rather than Janet Mills, one of the most uninspiring candidates conceivable in that race in Maine.
And we knew about this protest because it was reported publicly, and he was interviewed by someone, after he'd gotten taken out of this event. And then one of the first things I asked him when we had him on the air was, okay, you did that, but then you enlisted to go fight in those wars. Like, why? And what he said then and what he said, he's actually addressed this like in Reddit posts. Basically says he can't explain it really. But he had wanted to be a soldier
forever,
since as long as he could remember. But that doesn't mean that he agreed with the policy decisions that were being made. He also made a point in one of his Reddit posts that I think people don't quite understand is that in every unit, there's like, not every unit, but a lot of them, there's the lefty. And as somebody from rural America, I can tell you, there's like, we exist out in rural America too. Like there's lefties out there, not as many, but they're out there. And then there's always like a nationalist right-winger in the unit, and then everybody else is like, it's just a normal person going about their life. He was the lefty in the unit. It happens. Why? I can't quite explain it, but it happens.
I mean, there are a lot of benefits to enlisting if you're a guy.
There's that too.
All right. Let's go ahead, Ryan, and bring in our next guest who's going to tell us exactly how miserable it is to be graduating college right now.